Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to another premiere draft of the brand new Outlaws of Thunder Junction format. Without further ado, let's slam dunk our pack 1 pick 1 mythic rare planeswalker that is banned in everything. Oko, Thief of Crowns, is a super busted card. I think it's actually a tiny bit weaker in draft than it is in constructed formats, because one of the best things that it does is turn your opponent's best cards into 3/3s with no other abilities, and that's not the most insane thing in limited, because they aren't going to have too many cards that are that much better than 3/3s with no text. But it's still completely insane. You still, like, they slam down a 6/6 trampler or something, you're like, no, that's a 3/3, and you can just provide a huge supply of food tokens and turn your own food tokens into 3/3s. Still a ridiculous card, still easily a pack 1 pick 1 slam dunk, but I don't think it's the kind of card that's so good they would like ban it limited and never put it in a pack again, so we'll take that over the Stingerback Terror as another incredible rare. Honestly, maybe the Stingerback Terror is a tiny bit better just for being monocolored and still almost as powerful, maybe just as powerful for draft. For pick number 2, ideally we want to be in green and blue. We at least take some good fixing, so that if we're one of those two colors, we can splash in the Oko. So the options there would be Rise of the Varmints, which is a really late game play, but if you've self-milled a lot or traded a bunch of creatures off, this thing is huge. Get a 2/1 for each creature in your graveyard, so that's a pretty fun build around. Alternatively, I have liked the Phantom Interference here counterspell. So it's your 2-mana counter unless your opponent pays 2 kind of card, but if you top deck it later in the game, you still get a 2/2 flyer out of it, and if you're really lucky, and for 5 mana you get to counter one of their spells and get a spirit. That's when it's really good. So I like these a lot. The strongest card is probably just the Vial Smasher for an aggressive Outlaws deck, but starting with the Oko, I think we're less likely to be in that direction. We want to stick to the Oko, so we'll take the Rise of the Varmints here, I think. Go for a grindy, late-game oriented deck, try to have a really high creature count, so we can have tons of those creatures in the grave. And here's the perfect kind of card for this deck. The Outcaster Greenblade is just an excellent card, period, but it's particularly good at mana fixing you if you want to splash around. So just in case blue isn't particularly open, if we play green at the core of our deck, we can play green and any other color and just splash in the Oko. So that'll be really nice, and that's even if we have 0 deserts. This card's pretty good. If we have some deserts, the dual lands in the format are deserts, then this card becomes insane. This is like a 3 mana 2/3 or 3/4, sometimes even 4/5 that draws us whatever land we need. Super busted with enough deserts in the deck. Pick number 4. What is Repulse? Bounce one of their spells and draw a card for 3 mana. That's decent. It's like a worse remand. Oh, it's not a spell. This bounces a creature and draws a card. Okay, that actually might be pretty solid and limited. So that's cool. I do like this Town Ain't Big Enough. You can bounce 2 of your opponent's cards for 5 mana or 1 of your cards and one of theirs for 2. But I also like the Longhorn Sharpshooter a lot. A 2-for-1 removal spell plus creature off the same thing. We've also got the Lush Oasis for a green-blue desert. That's kind of perfect with the Green Blade. Tutor that out to cast the Oko. This is a wild pack. I like the Oasis, the Sharpshooter, the Town Ain't Big Enough, and the Repulse. All looks great to me. I'm going to go for the Sharpshooter, though. Maybe try to go like green-red at the core, because I'm just really into creatures that blow something up when they hit the board for a clean little 2-for-1 there. Pick 5. I think all of these kind of non-lands are definitely a little weaker, more narrow in this pack. Yeah, nothing great here. So we'll take the Mirage Mesa for fixing. That works great with the Green Blade. Thunder Salvo has been pretty awkward. 2 mana for 2 damage at instant speed is just not very good. There's a lot of beefy stuff in this format, particularly in green. A lot of really high toughness cards. So you need to really consistently be able to cast more than 1 spell in each turn, which is only really like a blue-red thing. Pick 6 now. Bristlepack Sentry. There's enough beefy creatures that this is kind of consistently attacked in. Explosive Derailment is also fine instant speed removal, but again, the creatures can be pretty beefy, so like 3 mana deal 4. Doesn't kill everything, surprisingly enough. I think those are really the only options, the Sentry or the Derailment. Not super high on derailment, but I think Sentry's probably narrow enough. Derailment is still better than that. Pick 7. This is for like a blue-white flash deck. This is for like a flyers deck. These aren't really gonna go great for green-blue. So Discerning Peddler towards green-red again. Or just the Airings towards green-white. I think this card's deceptively good. A 3/1 first strike that scries 1 every time it attacks, that is just super hard to block well. And you're setting up your draws with it. It's not hard to saddle it because your opponent plays a 3 toughness creature and you're not going to attack with your 2/2 anymore anyway, so saddle it up. But we are deeper into red here. We've got a really good reason to try to be there with this Longhorn Sharpshooter, so we'll stick to that with the Peddler. Pick 8. I don't really like running any colorless deserts, especially when we're splashing, which is really likely with this Oko. So I am not going to run Sandstorm Verge. So I'm probably not going to run anything in this pack, but maybe if we end up in blue, Lone Shark's going to be okay. Or if we end up in white, the Bighorn for a bunch of sheep. But we do have an Oko, so we might end up in blue. Take the Lone Shark. Pick 9, another explosive derailment. There's also another trained Airings pretty late. This Lawbringer is really good for black-white, but we're not going to be black-white. Basically, no matter what. We have Oko and a bunch of good red cards. So black-white is like the farthest color pair from what we're doing right now. Silver Deputy's okay fixing, but Green Blade's just so much better. I'll just take another derailment. Pick 10, Quilled Charger. This is pretty good, but I do like the Phantom Interference, so I will take that. Pick 11, Iron Fist Pulverizer. I don't think I'll main deck a Tornado, even though you can just like cycle it and get rid of it. Still feels a bit narrow. Get the town ain't big enough. Pick 12. Really nice bounce spell. And let us see. This seems criminal. I think Stagecoach Security is actually quite nice. All right. Pack 2, pick 1. We're in blue. Stoic Sphinx is brutal. 4 mana for a 5/3 flyer with flash, so you can play it at instant speed. And it has hexproof as long as you haven't cast a spell this turn. So what usually ends up being the play pattern, what usually ends up being the case, is that you're just going to flash this in, and then you're going to cast no more spells for the rest of the game, but it isn't going to matter because you just hit them 4 times with this, and they can't kill it because they can't target it. You just never let those shields down. They have a 4-turn clock to kill you, or they're just going to die to this, and it is busted. We're definitely taking Stoic Sphinx, and we're super happy with it, so now we are definitely playing blue as a core color to this deck. We might be blue-red at the core splash green at this point, considering the only green playables we took really early, the Outcaster Greenblade and the Rise of the Varmints, so it does seem like green is pretty heavily drafted in this pod. So what is the Visage Bandit? Becomes a copy of another creature you control as a shapeshifter rogue. That's cute. It's kind of whatever. I think Crom could be good here. We go blue-red double spell, splashing an Oko. Whenever we cast our second spell, get a +1/+1 counter on Crom and draw a card. We only have to do that 1 time to make this a great deal. 4 mana for a 3/4 flyer and a piece of card draw. Sure. Pick 3. We do have the Patient Naturalist. That is some more decent, like, fixing land ramp kind of stuff. If we can get enough green cards. If we're convinced that we can't, then I guess Marauding Sphinx is the pick, just for another good flyer. 3/5 Flying Vigilance Ward 2, that is kind of nuts. Yeah, we'll just stick to the blue here with Marauding Sphinx. The Phantom Interference is actually kind of awkward in blue-red. You're trying to cast 2 spells in 1 turn all the time, and so holding up a counterspell plays awkwardly. So I kind of don't like the Phantom Interference now that we're maybe blue-red instead of blue-green. Trick Shot is fine removal. It's pretty expensive, but you can clear out a creature and a mercenary token or a 1/1 sheep token or something. Get pretty rude with it. The Spring Splasher doesn't look like much, but one thing that I have noticed about this card that has played really well is that it commits a crime every turn. You target one of your opponent's cards every single turn. So if you have cards that care about consistently committing crimes, it's actually a pretty big overperformer, so that's interesting to me. All right, well, I'm pretty happy to be in blue. If we're going to get past 3 steps ahead, pick 5. I mean, some of these packs have like 4 rares in them, so not the biggest sign in the universe, but this card is still very good. So 3 mana to counter a spell is kind of your worst case scenario, but you can also just 3 mana draw 2, discard a card. You can do 4 mana to counter one of your, or counter to copy one of your artifacts or creatures. And if you top deck this in the late game, or you just have enough mana in general, you can do all of this on one spell, which is completely backbreaking. It's like Mystical Dispute, or not Mystical Dispute. What's the big 6 mana thing that's like hard to ever beat in Cube? I don't remember. But I do know Slick's Sequence is great in blue-red. 2 mana, 2 to any target is not very good, but 2 mana, 2 to a target draw a card is really nice. So you got to set up the double spell, but if you can do that, Slick Sequence is very slick. We're passing up on a desert for that. That's a little sad. But this is pick 6, so we don't get any of these cards back. Pick 7. All right, the Lock Picker is fantastic. You plot this so that on a later turn you can spend 2 mana for your 2 mana instant, and then 0 mana for the Lock Picker, and then another 2 mana to flash it back, so we could like double Slick Sequence turn 4. Lock Picker's real nice for blue-red. Pick 8. Razzle Dazzler's okay for blue-red, I guess. It doesn't seem insane, but we don't really have a lot of 2 mana cards right now. Grabbing a Failed Forwarding seems okay. Slow our opponents down, bounce something at instant speed. I don't really want the 5 drop here. Pick 10. We're definitely not a creature-heavy Outlaws Fury deck, and we're also just not excited about Vault Buster, so I'll take the Bandit, but I don't think that'll be good either. I will take Vault Buster. Pick 11 Patient Naturalist? That's kind of criminal. I guess I'll take it over Vault Buster, but we aren't going to play either of those cards. Unless I get a ton of really good green in the last pack, then we'll be blue-green splash red. So I guess there's the tiniest shot of that happening. Okay, Take the Fall is much better than it looks. And I didn't even notice or mention it earlier, so I'm part of the problem. But just 1 mana, commit a crime, draw a card is already fine. And that's the worst case scenario. So this card's actually just pretty good. Like sometimes it's a big enough combat trick, you get to win combat and draw a card, which is backbreaking. Pack 3, pick 1, Duelist of the Mind. It is 2 mana for a 1/3 flying vigilance at worst. And if you commit a crime, you draw a card, discard a card. That makes it a 2/3 flying vigilance that turn. And if you cast any card draw, then it's even bigger. Maybe you're hitting for like 3 in the sky on a really good turn where you get to slick sequence to commit a crime and draw a card. Then you've drawn 1 off of Duelist, 1 for your draw step, and 1 off of Slick Sequence. So Duelist looks awesome for this deck. Easy pick. Pack 3, pick 2. A bunch of poopy stuff. A Mobile Homestead, or I guess a Daring Thunder Thief lets us hold up a counter and cast this if we don't play it. We're definitely not an Outlaws Fury deck. Yeah, sad pack. I don't think we're a Conduit Pylons deck, even if we are splashing Oko. I don't know. We're probably closer to a Conduit Pylons deck than a Daring Thunder Thief deck. Pack 3, pick 3, very efficient removal with Scorching Shot, 2 mana for 5 to a creature. We want some great cheap instants and sorceries for our Lock Picker. And just double spelling in general for cards like Slick Sequence. So we'll definitely take the Scorching Shot. Hopefully we'll Take the Fall. Take the Fall seems kind of perfect for this kind of deck as well. It's really good rares here. Claim Jumper and Kellen the Kid. But we are not near those colors. Oh, somebody's going to have a double Kellen deck? I envy the green drafters here. Alright, a Phantom Interference is real awkward for double spelling, but we're not really a Quilled Charger deck either, so... Come on in, Phantom Interference. Hypothesis is pretty good. 5 mana, draw 2, discard your worst non-land card to turn it into 4 damage to a creature. Seems fine. Oh my god, they put Cruel Ultimatum in this format? That's so cool, but so uncastable for us. That is so sick. I'm a huge Bolas fan, so obviously I love Cruel Ultimatum. It's the giant Grixis sorcery. That's so sweet. That's so high impact, but you gotta be exactly Grixis. You have to have great mana for that. Wolverine's better than Slasher, but I think Wolverine's a little awkward for the deck here. Because we're quite likely running these counter spells. Alright, here's a really cheap removal spell. I think that's pretty good. The Crab's okay too. Draw a card, discard a card every turn that we don't cast something. But I'll take the cheap Skewer, Burn. Another Slick Sequence is beautiful. I don't know. I did kind of already make an argument of cutting some counter spells here. So if we do end up cutting the counter spells, then Wolverine's going to be actually pretty good. But if we don't cut the counter spells, Wolverine's going to be pretty bad. It's a gamble there. Yeah, and I'm just taking another counter. I don't think we're cutting the counter spells. Blue-red control nonsense. I don't know about this one. We'll see. See if we can get a Take the Fall to come back. That'd be very good. Shifting Rift is cute. I don't know if we have enough expendable stuff to try to use this to steal something big. Alright, I don't think we gotta Take the Fall to come back. Sadly. Somebody else is drafting blue in the end. Okay, so we're just cutting green and playing a single Oko off the green splash. And we're just going to be blue-red control-y stuff. I don't think we're actually that good at double spelling. So I'm only going to put the best double spell cards in the deck, like Chrome. And what else? Like the Slick Sequences, those are pretty good. We do have a lot of instants here, so our counter spells and instant speed removal looks excellent. Like that a lot. Okay, Seize the Secrets doesn't look great. Trick Shot's pretty expensive. We've got a lot of cheaper burn. Probably just cut like one more creature here and be just super spell heavy for the most part. Actually really don't know even how I feel about the Loan Shark. It's a pretty slow card. Maybe better than Discerning Peddler, and we just always hold up the 2-mana counter turn 2, because we got all these non-creatures at 2 mana. That's probably fine. So let's see, Seize the Secrets, Trick Shot, and Peddler are potential cuts. Yeah, we'll just drop the spells. I'll keep the Peddler, additional land, draw another card in the late game. Seems fine. It's good with Duelist of the Mind, if nothing else. How is our mana looking here? We have 17 blue cards and 10 red. Currently on an even split of blue and red. Let's get... Well, I've got a double red Scorching Shot. But that's the one double red card. I think I am going to go 8-6 split. And we will call it a deck here. All right, here's a look at the final deck list for today. We're on kind of a blue-red control deck here. A lot of draw-go stuff going on where we're hoping to resolve some just good flyer like Duelist of the Mind, Chrome, or Marauding Sphinx, and then just keep passing the turn with a ton of mana up so we can Phantom Interference if they cast a spell and they can't afford to pay the 2. Because if we do that late in the game, we get a flyer and counter their spell, which is nasty. Maybe a 3 steps ahead. This is a huge swing in the game late, because then we get to counter their big spell, make a duplicate of our best creature, draw some cards, just super, super nasty stuff. And then we've also got some instant speed removal, so if they don't cast anything and we just want to blow something up, well, we've got Explosive Derailment, we've got Hypothesis, we've got some Slick Sequences, just got a lot of great instant speed interaction to resolve some threats, hold some mana up, and try to control the game out. We've also got a little splash here for Broko, Thief of Crowns, one of the best cards ever printed, period. So that should be a really powerful splash. And yeah, pretty exciting, pretty interesting deck. Very pumped to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game one with an excellent start. We are on the draw here. We've got our turn 2 Duelist of the Mind. Start poking for 1 every turn, and every time that we're shooting one of their cards, we're committing a crime, and we're poking for 2 instead, which is wonderful. Our opponent's on Boros. There is Oltek Matterweaver on turn 3. So every time they cast a creature, they get a 1/1 artifact creature. Super busted little value 3-drop mythic. We're just going to have to kill that immediately. So we will derailment before they cast anything else. And that lets us commit a crime with Duelist to hit for 2 damage this turn. Find a Take the Fall. I like that a lot. We can Take the Fall and Slick Sequence in the same turn. I really want to get to Sphinx here. I guess I ditched the land weirdly enough, because even if I don't top deck a land naturally next turn, I get to draw 3 cards and discard 1. I draw 1 from Take the Fall, draw 1 from Slick Sequence, draw 1, discard 1 from Duelist of the Mind. So we get a huge Duelist attack in and draw multiple cards. Okay, unless they kill Duelist, then I just draw multiple cards, which is still good for digging to the land. Unless we find it naturally, in which case I just Sharpshooter the Errands. And that's also great. Boop. Three steps ahead. Well, that's a nice card to hold up here. Now we're just on draw go. Oh, I forgot to just play my 3/3. I am a buffoon. I forgot about my plot card. This would just be counter right now. And that's only a 2/2. I can kill it with a Slick Sequence real easy. I guess the argument that we could make here is that I held off on Sharpshooter to make it super easy to Slick Sequence on a future turn. And that's how we can justify it, right? If I take the fall right now, I'm not holding up my counter. So I'll just take the 2. Alright, they're going to plot a card. Is that the 4/5? Yeah, so we'll counter that one. So let's take the fall, Slick Sequence the Holy Cow, so I can hold up the counter for the next threat next turn. Okay. If I find another counter spell, I can bounce their Journey to Nowhere and then counter it later. What happens if they resolve a 4/5? Honestly, nothing. They just have a 4/5 for me to bounce later anyway. Yeah, sure. Actually, let's just get our threats on board while they're tapped out. If I wait longer on this and I get to counterspell and duplicate a Marauding Sphinx, that can completely end the game in our favor, so I'll hold off on it here. Alright. This is a-okay, especially with the Lockpicker now to flash back something. 5 mana to bounce both their cards and hit for 6. And they have to spend a bunch of mana recasting them. Sure. Also commit a crime, surveil. Another bounce spell and a derailment? They're over it, yeah. We're in a really good position here, but I gotta try to figure out what is the absolute best of all the incredible options we have. So it's gonna be a really annoying game for our opponent. But yeah, looking like really good stuff from the blue-red control there. That played out like exactly how we wanted it to. We'd probably just keep both of these, and they're solid draws for us. I think we probably draw into the derailment first. But excellent showing from the deck, and we start things off 1-0 heading into game 2. Here we are for game number 2. Well, Stoic Sphinx in a dream, I guess. This hand could absolutely flood. And that would be the big issue, but sometimes one Stoic Sphinx is the only card you need to cast all game. We'll see. Doc Orlock, that's going to make the rest of their plays considerably cheaper, so we'll just counter it. And slow them down. Ooh. Ooh. I shouldn't have played my green source. I'm a doofus. If I played my blue source, then instead of playing Stoic Sphinx this turn, we could go Slick Sequence, Lockpick, or Slick Sequence. Well, that is super awkward, because I think that is a play where we would want to double Slick Sequence for the turn. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, they can do another spell. Okay, well, we'll double Slick Sequence next turn. That just means we Stoic Sphinx in the end step here instead. I could Failed Forwarding and Slick Sequence a different one of their cards or something here. I guess it's another option. But yeah, if they tap out, we just play the Hexproofer. And it's going to take longer than we want it to kill them, because they gained a little bit of life here. But it's still going to be good. Enters battlefield, instant source in grave gains flashback equal to its mana cost. Yeah, so it is Slick Sequence, flashback, Slick Sequence to kill Kellen and draw a card. While they're mostly tapped out, and then try to cast nothing else for the rest of the game. That might convince us to cast something else. That exact draw. If they tap out of any kind of interaction, then we will easily cast some stuff. But if they have almost any mana up, it's better to just leave the Hexproof. And it currently looks better to just leave the Hexproof. 3 more swings and it's over. Seize the secrets, draw 2. Send in the squad. Snakeskin Veil. They already chose their only legal target, but they have 2 mana up after this, so we just keep the Hexproof. Could forward our own Stoic Sphinx. Something super terrible happens. Two more swings to kill them. It's 3 more swings to kill us. If we can find an opportunity to safely cast any of our spells, we definitely win the race, but if we can't, then we probably won't. Spinewood's Paladin, that gains some life for them. That's going to make it harder to race them. Alright, so now I can shoot the Slinger. They have 3 mana up to kill the Sphinx. If they do, though, we can fail forwarding it back to our hand and recast it next turn, which slows us down considerably, but slows them down considerably, getting rid of a 4 power attacker. Let's do it. And obviously, if they don't have instant speed removal, this is just fantastic. Okay, they don't even have a spell, so that is definitely the best play. If they had a spell, they would have killed the Sphinx by now. So now we know that the path is clear to cast whatever we want. So we just get an Oko. Just get an Oko, get a food. Counterspell. Alright, that's sad. Moderately tragic. The gain 3 means it's going to take 2 more swings from Sphinx to kill them. Gonna be real close. But we've got a chump blocker down now without having to worry about losing Sphinx hexproof. Another crime for that Vault Buster. Take 3. Scorching Shot. They have 1 card in their hand, and it's whatever they just top decked, so I think that I can afford to shoot the 5/4 trample, especially again with the fording in our hand to bounce our Sphinx. All right, simple game there. That was just Stoic Sphinx's game. Although this was a game that would have just played better if we never played around anything because they just couldn't find the cheap removal regardless. Yeah, fight our way through a Kellen there with the double burn off of our slick shot lock picker. That was pretty slick indeed. But mostly we just bombed them out with a Stoic Sphinx. We are now 2-0 heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3. We're going to play real slow here. But our turn 5 is going to be very good. Our turn 5 is going to be exceptional. I think I want to go Island Mountain, so I could slick sequence a 2 toughness creature if I really need to. Anyways, our turn 5, we get to play a Crom, draw a card, and have it be a 3/4 flyer. Alright, now we can go ahead and Pylons and Surveil. Phantom Interference, I'll keep that. I've got plenty of mana to do that for 5, where we counterspell and get a 2/2 flyer. Rambling Possum, that's too big. It's too large for me. It's also too large for my Sharpshooter, which is rough, because I really want to plot it so I can Crom draw a card next turn. So the no value plot. When it's not no value, we do still deal 2 to the face, but we're not killing anything. I feel like our matchup against like red decks and white decks is really good because they have tons of small creatures for our 2 damage stuff. Green is another story though. Green decks are going to be hard. The green creatures are just so beefy in this format. Well, at least there's a Vault Plunder we can kill. 1 toughness there. So we can shoot the black half of their deck, but not the green half. It's too thick. All right. Crom, draw a card, don't have interference up, or just hold up interference and do nothing else. Feels better to just play something we know is going to end up well than gamble on them playing something that's perfect for interference. Ooh. Whenever you cast your second spell... Aw, I wish this triggered off of everything past the first spell, because that Take the Fall would have been nuts if we got another Crom trigger immediately. It's still pretty good. It's a really cheap spell for us to cast before the slick sequence. I think we probably should have taken this even higher than we did, because we could be really happy with like 3 copies of this card. Just spending 1 mana, cycling it away, and adding to our storm count to make all of our second spell cards better is a big deal. I don't even know what this does. Oh! It's insane value. That's what it does. Picks up the Vault Plunder so they can recast it. That seems good. But if they spend the turn recasting a Vault Plunder, they already have 7 cards in hand. They're playing out real slowly if they do that, so they're not going to. Fair enough. Could take the fall here, but I want to hold on to it so I can get the Slick Sequence card draw on a future turn. We can take the fall, Slick Sequence the Plunderer, draw 2 in that exchange, and trigger Crom at the same time. We get insane value holding onto this Take the Fall for later. All right, that's really nice. 3 mana, 3/3 draw a card. Seems good. It also could be a 2 mana, 3/3. Really cheap plot. Okay, now we are holding up a Phantom Interference, and if we don't need to do that, we're doing Take the Fall Slick Sequence nonsense. Poking with Crom because we never want to put him at any danger on blocks. Passing the turn. We do have an Outlaw. We've got a Rogue. So Take the Fall is -4/-0, draw a card. It's pretty big. So I've got the mana to Take the Fall and 5 mana Phantom Interference, or Take the Fall and Slick Sequence and Phantom Interference for 2. No saddling here. Okay. Let's try killing their possum with our sharpshooter and see if they do anything to interact, or if that's just fine. Alright, and then maybe we get to kill it with a Take the Fall, and then it's really good for us. Although, funnily enough, this still would work even if it was only -1/-0 right now. We'd still win this combat and draw a card. Don't need the -4. If they don't have a cheap trick like a Snakeskin Veil, we can Phantom Interference. If it's going to be like a instant speed removal, probably Phantom Interference. That's exactly cheap enough to work, which is annoying. I would like to draw another card off of Crom before he dies then, so let's sequence away the Plunderer. Draw a card, shoot it, draw a card, kill a possum, draw a card. Why not? I mean, you all like drawing cards, right? Everybody does. Should I derailment this right now? No, I'll probably just skewer it next turn for 1 mana and save my instant speed removal for something better. Since I can kill it for a single mana, seems more efficient. Although now I can't shoot their face for 3, but I don't know, it seems fine. Bandit's Hall. Alright, Mana Rock. No, stop holding 2 mana up exactly. Well, Explosive Derailment's going to be very good here. Say goodbye to your Mana Rock and your creature. Ka-ching! That's my Bandit's Hall now. Straight cash money. This is maybe a little bit too many lands, but we'll see. Maybe just a teensy bit. No, thank you, my friend. World's greatest Phantom Interference. I don't even want to read that card. I just want to counter it. Oh my god, Broko is here. It's time for our opponent to file for reimbursement because this is not fair magic. Oh, do they have Graveyard Recursion? Oh, then it's about to turn into fair magic, because I'm only at 9 life here, so if they Graveyard Recursion this giant thing that gains life and draws a card, we might still die. Although I can just -5 Broko. Hold up. I can say that's actually my Vaultborn Tyrant. You can have a food. Oh no, it only steals a power 3 or less creature. Never mind, Oko's not quite that broke. Slick Sequence. It's my only spell. I can't double spell here. I can make the Vaultborn Tyrant a 3/3 with no abilities. And that feels worth it.
Let's broaden your existence.
Nice little elk friend there. If I can hit them one more time with this flyer, I can kill them. With Slick Sequence to the face. Well, that's pretty good. That's really good for our opponent. They might just lethal me here. I'm at 12. That's 7 damage on board. Oh, they could just kill Oko. Yeah, that works. 7 to Oko. I can't stop that. Slick Sequence is 1 damage too small against 3/3s. They are still dead without killing my flyer or playing a reach creature. Lively Dirge. So search their library for a reach creature, reanimate it, or just reanimate the lookout. God dang it. No! Pick the bristle, but oh, please reanimate that. Get your food tokens, but you don't have the mana for them right now. Don't play land, don't play land, don't play land. Oh my god. Oh, we were so dead if they just picked a reach creature. Let's go. I'm gonna draw the card just in case somehow 2 does not equal 2. But 2 equals 2! Well, that was some high power magic right there. That was an insane game. We got to do Crom combo card draw things all over the place. Then we got to play a Broco. Our opponent got a Vaultborn Tyrant and a Bristlebud Farmer and Free Strider Lookout. Explosive swingy magic there, but we do explode our opponent's face in the end with evasive threats. Just fly right over their Bristle Buddy. We are now 3-0, heading into game 4. Here we are now for game number 4. Got another one of those really good turn 5 sequences, but kind of a slower start before then. Again, Conduit Pylon's looking a little awkward, but I do want to play all of my colored sources first so I can have Slick Sequence up nice and early. Don't Phantom Interference me. Thank you. They're on blue-white here. They could exile this thing with the enchantment. Yeah. Sorry, Duelist. Skewer the critics. How about no? Let's surveil and hold up Phantom Interference. This town ain't big enough. I will keep that. I do need 5 mana ideally before I'm using that, so I can bounce 2 of their cards. But until then, I already have my 4 mana, which means I plot this on turn 4 and I cast this on turn 5. Yeah, I'm not going to counter an Armadillo. I will counter a Deep Muck Desperado. I would rather not get milled. Well, we're just going to set up for the Crom value. Since they have not played anything with low enough toughness to shoot with the Sharpshooter, we don't get the 2-for-1 there. Geyser Drake, that is also 3 toughness instead of 2. All of our 2 damage spells have been pretty big underperformers. I don't like that casual 1 and a blue up. I dislike it enough to not play Crom. I don't really have a good alternate line, do I? What, I failed forwarding their Mystical Tether and then Slick Sequence their face to draw a card? Doesn't exactly do anything. Yeah, I don't really have an alternate line. Their instants cost 1 less as well. I guess I can double spell without playing Crom by going Sharpshooter then Slick Sequence, but I have nothing to sequence. Yeah, alright, well, show me the counter. Oh, snap. Well, too late now to do anything. We get to draw a card off Crom no matter what. Alright, well, I'm glad I went for it. Didn't... Like, I fully expected they could have a counter there like Phantom Interference. I was very scared of it, but if they don't have the counter, that is by far our best play that turn. So I'm very happy with that outcome. What is this, a 4/4? Sure. They have to tap out to hit me with it. I will take 4 damage. Alright, if I can double spell again, Crom's going to be very happy with me. And I can... by... skewering the Drake, sequencing their face. I don't think they're going to block with the Drake anyway, so we just send in everybody pre-combat so that skewer only costs 1. And then we skewer the Drake. Uh-oh. Are they going to shoot it for 2 damage here and we bounce the Drake in response to still win? They're going to Metamorphic Blast, make its base power and toughness 0/1. Alright, so we will have to bounce here. Bounce the Drake. Mill a land. Oops. Oh, I clicked the big shiny orange button. God, digital magic. Didn't get to get my Crom card draw. Still in a really good position, but I clicked the wrong button. The right button was to not click a button. It was to click on a card in hand. I think we have the mana to bounce 2 of their cards and then slick sequence something. I guess this has ward 1, so I don't have the mana to slick sequence that. There's nothing worth sequencing right now anyway. Alright. Up to 2 non-land permanents in their hand. I could spend 5 mana and just bounce their Stop Cold, I guess. Then I skewer the Geyser Drake. Because I don't want to bounce the Tether, then they just tether the Crom. And I guess they can already Stop Cold the Crom anyway, but drawing another card seems big. Alright, they should just Stop Cold right now, yeah, before we draw a card and get to draw another off of Crom. Hypothesizzle. Good draw. Sorry, Slick Sequence, but Marauding Sphinx is a little stronger, and I want to kill an Armadillo. Oh, Mindslaver. They can't do anything with that, though, right? Because I'm going to have 0 cards in my hand, so they'll get my next turn and they can just choose not to attack. So it's a 10 mana fog. Yep. You just set it up as a 10 mana fog. Failed Fording. They want to bounce the Sphinx. It's going to cost enough mana that they can't Mindslaver now. If they pay the ward. So they don't pay the ward. gain control of our turn. Let's make a 2/2 flyer so they can't counter our own spell. If we draw something. Lockpicker. Oh, that's actually kind of good here. I don't know if it's good enough. They can lockpicker and flashback one of our own burn spells against our own creature. Oh, they can, this town ain't big enough, 2 of our cards. They permanently kill our token and put the Sphinx back in hand. I think that's their best play. Pick up this town ain't big enough. Bounce Sphinx and a 2/2. They're going to go for the Hypothesisal. I don't think that's very good here because I get to keep the cards that they draw into. And I get to keep one of them. Yeah, I'm not that worried about this. Just kill one creature. We still got lethal on board. Yeah, I think we're fine. Oh, they still attack. Let's go. I gotta say, I'm not as bold as my opponent. I don't think I'd have the cojones to attack into myself when I mind slaver the opponent. That was sending a message right there. We are now 4-0 heading into game 5. Here we are on the play for game 5. We're on a 1-lander, but the majority of the hand only costs 2 mana. If they play any creature, I can take the fall to try to cycle into a land. That just seems really needlessly risky, though. A 1-lander here. I think we take them all. All right, this looks safer. This looks safer. Probably have to get rid of one of the 5-mana spells, so we'll go for the 5-mana bounce and keep the finisher, the Sphinx. Technically, the 5-mana bounce could be played as 2-mana bounce, but that's only if we have a non-land permanent to pick up with it. So we wouldn't even know if that would work. Resilient Roadrunner. I think I need to buy time bad enough to lose out on card advantage. Well, yeah, probably. They're red, white, black. It's a pretty aggressive color trio. I don't get to double spell till turn 4 if I really want to try to get the value there. So it feels better to just kill that, bounce their next play, try to make it to turn 5. Whenever you commit a crime, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it gets really big really quick, and with 4 more counters it has Menace and Lifelink. That's pretty gross. But because it gets counters, we can wait on the failed forwarding until it has some counters so we get rid of some other value that way. And they have to start rebuilding onto it. I guess I could still bounce it right now to get the Surveil. Prickly Pear. Alright, I could kill a mercenary permanently, Surveil 1. I think that's fine. The Surveil is pretty valuable. Oko, shoot. Yeah, I mace it on red so we can't really... The 1 forest. Oh, Arena. Arena's got jokes. What happens when we commit a crime? We surveil 2. Can really set up our draws. Oh my god, I forgot about the vigilance. That's nasty. I was just gonna fly in for 3 because they could give like Death Touch or Menace to anybody. Well, this has Death Touch. They can give Menace or Lifelink to anybody. If they just deal 3, that's fine. I don't think I'm going to derailment unless they try to give lifelink. No lifelink. I will end step derailment though to surveil 2. Another prickly pear. It's a wide aggressive board. Alright, let's surveil 2 and make sure we hit some action. That is action right there. Oh boy, is that action. Take the Sphinx first, right, to try to outrace them. And then we take the Scorching Shot as well. Oh, I wish I had a little bit of card draw here. I want both those in hand bad. They're both real good. But if we take the Sphinx, we start hitting for 8 a turn. So 2 more swings and they're dead. Do I still have a discard a card, draw a card in here? Yeah, somewhere. I got that 2 mana 2/2. I'll hold this land. Also the Hypothesizzle. If I don't end up wanting to discard and deal 4. And keep a land for that. No attacks. Let's go, juicy 3/5 body. Well, Sphinx is probably dead. They have 5 mana up. If they have any instant speed removal, they just kill it the turn we cast it. Whether or not I cast it now or our turn is irrelevant. They'll kill it either way. So we might as well cast it now. Said I have the mana up for Scorching Shot. I mean, I could cast both next turn. Alright, unfortunate accident. Fair enough. Now we get to kill a bigger Vladimir. Wait, did that make a menace too? Where'd that come from? Or a menace, a mercenary? Yeah, unfortunate accident did. That's a really good card. Well, that's a good surveil. So how much mana did they have for this thing? Costs a black and 3, so it cost 4 mana to cast in the first place, so they couldn't have killed the Marauding Sphinx with it. So yeah, even if I had played our Hexproof card during our end step, they would have just killed it the exact same way. So we couldn't do anything about that. Well, that's bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. If they have the +2/+0 to everything and draw a card if you have an outlaw, we're going to be super dead if we don't block. But if they have like a +3/+3 or a +4/+4, then we're going to be in a really bad spot if we do. I don't have enough life to just let this through multiple turns in a row, even if they don't have +2/+0 to everybody. So we got to just hope they're trying to sneak damage through with the +2/+0 and that this is not like a Death Touch trick to kill the Sphinx. Or a burn spell to kill the Sphinx. Oh, it is. Yeah, I couldn't afford to not block for the rest of this game. That Rooftop Assassin was going to kill the Sphinx eventually regardless. We're only poking for 3 a turn and taking like 6 a turn. If I just let the damage in, it's way too late for Phantom Interference. I think that is game. Couple swings from death. That might be instant death. It's 1 damage off. It's not instant death. They didn't have anything else. We did hit the discard a card, draw a card thing, so holding the island did a thing, sort of. And it finds our counterspell. We're super dead, and we are now 4-1, heading into game number 6. Here we are on the play for game number 6. We are 4-1 right now, so we're at a positive record no matter what, at least breaking even out of the draft. But hopefully we can keep this up with a few more wins, maybe even get a 7 winner. We'll find out soon enough. We're against somebody with Vraska sleeves, so I'm going to assume they're Golgari, even though that's probably not a fair assumption. Got a really slow hand here. We're not really doing anything till turn 5, because we're going to plot Loan Shark on turn 4, so that turn 5 we cast something and then cast the Loan Shark. But we have 2 pieces of cheap interaction, a removal spell and a bounce spell to slow the game down till we get there. Alright, they are going to start with a Mirage Mesa on red, so much for my assumption of Golgari from the Vraska avatar and sleeves. But hey, we just drew an insane card. We have a Stoic Sphinx now, so we're going to play that before the Loan Shark at this point. And just try to hit them in the face 4 times. Because 5 times 4 is 20. Stoic Sphinx as the 1 spell cast per game. Can we do it? I'm sure there's going to be several games throughout this this format where someone has won casting only a Stoic Sphinx and nothing else. Not a lot of games where the only thing you cast is Stoic Sphinx, but there will be some. Playing against Boros, they start with the Omen Port Vigilante, which if they commit a crime can double strike us, hit us for quite a bit. Wouldn't hate Scorching Shotting that. But I do think I might still want to save the Scorching Shot for something bigger. But I guess we are just trying to outrace them with the Sphinx. Let's just shoot it. Take 0 damage next turn. They're red, green, and white. Congregation Gryph. That will be very difficult to outrace. Because if they saddle it up, it's going to swing in and gain 2 like every turn. Could hope for no interaction from our opponent and flash in the Sphinx and block. Feels a little ballsy. Probably better to just end step the Sphinx. Because any combat trick is going to get a trade in here. But maybe they'll tap out. Oh, let's go. If they tap out, this is going to be so nasty. This is 3 toughness. That'll be 2 power. Which is not enough. Yeah, they tap out so they can saddle it and get in for 1 extra damage, which does make sense, but unfortunately when your opponent has one of the best rares in the entire set, you're going to get blown out. And here we are. I am going to slow them down while they're tapped out and just kill Earthajo here. While I know that it's okay to have Sphinx lose the hexproof, I'm going to plot the Loan Shark on a later turn when they have mana up to shoot Sphinx, so that I'm still doing something with my mana, but not getting rid of hexproof on Sphinx. It is important to mention, there are some cards that just care about not casting spells from your hand, so you can cast a plotted spell and not trigger them or anything, but with the Stoic Sphinx, even if we cast a spell from exile, it loses hexproof. So we can plot the shark and save it for later, but we don't want to even cast the shark from exile unless we're sure that the Sphinx is safe. So if we hit another blue source, like I could bounce the Sphinx and recast it in the same turn, and then we'd probably be fine to do that. Cast a Varmint, hold up 3 mana for their own derailment, and hope that we cast a spell. That looks like their play. Well, we're not going to cast a spell then. Ooh, now I don't even want to plot the shark now that I have a Phantom Interference. Sorry, Loan Shark. I've got a really good 5 mana counterspell for all 5 of this mana to use. If I had a 6th land, I probably would still plot the shark and just hold up 2 mana Phantom Interference, but the odd number of lands here, I'll just hold up the interference. They're going to plot their own card. What is that? Rise of the Varmints? Okay, if they get enough creatures in grave, that can outrace me. Take 3 for now. They have 3 in their grave. That's 3 2/1s minimum. Kind of threatening. Alright, they're still holding up that 3 mana for their own derailment. Okay. Still killing them in 3 swings, so let's just do that. If they tap down to like 3 mana again, I think I'd be okay to cast like my 3 mana derailment, because then I can still hold up 2 mana interference. Thunder Lasso. It equips, and every time the equipped creature attacks, they deal A damage. Or no, they don't deal A damage, they tap a creature. What am I talking about? So I could derailment the Varmint and have Phantom Interference counter unless they pay 2 up. So if they have an explosive derailment of their own, I counter it. If it's 2 mana removal, they will be able to target the Sphinx and I'll have to forwarding it. But if it's 3 mana removal like explosive derailment, I think this will actually play pretty well for us. Just kill the varmint. Yep. Alright. This is theirs, right? Targeting Stoic Sphinx. Targeting Varmint. Okay, so targeting Stoic Sphinx, that one. And now they have no cards and spells, so I can cast another flyer to make it just more likely we get that kill real quick. And we're golden. I also have the Loan Shark forwarding mana, but we'll just play the Marauding Sphinx. And I think we're good. Stoic Sphinx, just ride that all the way to victory again. Jump on the back of some flying sphinxes. Yep. We're just going back to Amonkhet over here, flying around on some sphinxes. Pretty sick. We are now 5-1. We are in the money out of this draft no matter what, leaving with more gems than it costs to enter, which is super sweet. This has been a very fun, very powerful, very different deck here at 1,600 gems and 4 packs as our minimum prize out from here. But we'll see how far we can take it. We're heading into round number 7. All right, weird hand, but okay. On the draw, got a Phantom Interference to hold up at 2 mana. Now we've got a finisher. We got a Marauding Sphinx. No. Oh, lose for being on the draw? If we were on the play, we could counter the 2 mana 3/2 trample, but we're on the draw, so we can't. And now we're going to take 1,000,000 damage from that card throughout this game. It's going to hit us for at least like 9 before we can do anything about it. Yeah, this might be one of those lose the game for being on the draw things. Because not being able to counter the 2-drop means, yeah. At minimum, this was 2 mana deal 9 right now at this rate. With this slower hand. I don't think stopping a single point of damage is worth casting Take the Fall right now, even though it does cycle away. Oh no. Okay, well it probably is now, because we have 2 other Phantom Interferences in the deck. And if we can top deck one to counter the Giant Beaver, we might still be in this game, but if we can't counter this Giant Beaver, they have 7 damage on board that I can't do anything about next turn. And that's half of our life total. Like, the game's just seriously over if we don't top deck a counter, so we have to gamble on it. And we didn't hit it. Just hit another land. Yeah. The game is looking seriously over. We have to cast the Loan Shark just to hold the Alchemist off. No card draw. There's the saddle. So they can just buff the Alchemist, and now that's big enough to attack into the Loan Shark as well. Oh, and there's the tether for the Loan Shark too. Surprised they saddled instead of just hitting for 7 then. Failed forwarding is actually kind of sweet. Well, no. I don't have enough mana to play anything other than failed forwarding. Never mind. We're on Hypothesizel the Giant Beaver while they're tapped out, probably. If I play a single Marauding Sphinx and they have another Mystical Tether, we're dead. They go basic land tethered, we die. Well, we go to 2. 2 is not 0, but it's more than close enough. It's going to be really hard to hold up a Phantom Interference. I guess 6 mana next turn. We could play Duelist and hold up forwarding and Interference. In which case we might want to discard Marauding Sphinx. It's so weird, but that might actually line up pretty well. 'Cause I don't think I'm going to be able to afford to just play a Marauding Sphinx. And until 2 turns from now, I wouldn't be able to cast anything else alongside the Sphinx. And this might be dumb, but... We're in a rock and a hard place here. I'm going to try to triple blue spell next turn. We cast Duelist of the Mind, we cast Failed Fording to get Loan Shark back and draw a card, and then we hope to be able to Phantom Interference the Tether when they try to recast it. Although there's the 5th mana, so we can't Interference the Tether then. Sharpshooter? That's interesting. Sharpshooter, hold up, Phantom Interference, and if we don't cast it, we Fording the Alchemist to stop damage for the turn is an alternate line. Looks fine. Actually, I think I just take this unless they combat trick for lethal. Alright, go to 2. So we need to be able to stop like a 4 or 5 mana bomb thing. That's a 4 or 5 mana bomb thing. I'm so glad I took this damage. Okay, Sharpshooter's big enough to trade an Alchemist. Derailment works too. Do I Derailment while they're tapped out? I've got the mana to Derailment and Fording. I think I have to play this land rather than drawing off Duelist. Yeah, I think I just play the land and hold both of these up. Yikes. Exile the Sharpshooter so I don't have a block that kills anymore. Could Fording the Sharpshooter and still have Derailment on Alchemist. And then this Tether doesn't do anything. I do Surveil one when I cast this as well. Yeah, I think Fording our Sharpshooter is better than Fording one of their Tethers, because they'll just recast the Tether soon. Please don't combat trick me for lethal. Oh, or do, actually. That's better for me if you try before I Derailment. I just meant if I cast Derailment, don't combat trick me after I cast Derailment. If you cast a combat trick before I cast Derailment, I'm super happy. That was the play. All right. Let's set up the double spell with the Slick sequence here. Ooh. I think Slick sequence is better. Then this town ain't big enough, but they're both really good. Maybe against green, this town ain't big enough is better. So if they cast something big, it's bad. Okay, that just kind of kills me no matter what. 4/3 Flying Vigilance and Reanimate. Their best cheap card. That is really, really nasty. I guess it doesn't go right to the board at least. Alright, I've got the 3/3 reach against that, but this is... When they plot it, they give +3/+2 trample. Wow. So we're just going to get trampled over. Yeah. Oh, but we're 3 steps ahead. What a lucky draw. I almost lost because I didn't hold on to this town ain't big enough, but now we drew this 3 steps ahead. Oh, it doesn't counter plots, though. Wait. I could still make a copy of the Duelist for 4? Or, I mean, a copy of the Sharpshooter as well. Yeah, I guess I have enough toughness on board to not die to the trample already. Oh, yikes. 6/5. Maybe that was worth the counter, but I really want to have the tricks to not get Alchemist trampled. No, I probably should have countered that instead of drawn 2 and discarded a card here, because I think I have to cast this regardless at this point to dig. Yeah. Would have been... I think would have been a little better to counter and get a token. then draw and get a token. But hey, there we go. Stoic Sphinx is big. Oh, what a draw. What is going on with the shuffler? Magic Arena loves me today. Oh my god. What is this? And we have Vigilance with one of our creatures, so we send in the whole team. They need haste in their green-white deck and removal in the same turn to kill us. Okay. So skewer the critics. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because we draw the extra. Oh my god. I have to skewer first so that sequences the second spell. I have to draw the card to buff the duelist. Oh my god, I'm gonna discard a Stoic Sphinx because Lockpicker's so good here. That's a 3-power duelist. Oh my god. That was loose. That was a loose game. That, well, I mean, the early plays to help stay alive and choosing to like ditch the Sphinx and stuff. I think some really tight plays in a difficult position to stick around and get these opportunities to hit an incredible top deck streak and maybe stay in the game from there. So like really happy with the plays early in the game. But then the top deck streak in the end was just so insane that I started playing like kind of loose, like not countering, instead drawing the cards. But I guess it ended up better that we chose to draw the cards instead of countering, because then we hit the derailment to just blow up 2 of their cards instead of countering just 1. I don't know. That was just insane. That was just actually perfect draws in the second half of that game. That would be one of those games that would definitely be super tilting on the other side of the table. Would be like, they just drew the perfect thing every turn, and it's like, I mean, yeah, I just did. I just drew the perfect cards every turn. That's all there was to it. They had a great little aggressive start there. I was really worried about dying, taking all that early damage from the Alchemist, but we drew like an absolute champion for the rest of that game. Honestly, I think the only thing that our opponent did that could have changed the course of the game at all was like the take up the shield. They went for the take up the shield to try to go for the onboard lethal, but I had the burn spell to respond and kill their creature before that resolved. But it's like, fair enough, it was onboard lethal. Sometimes you gotta just go for it. So when our opponent has a really strong deck, they played real well for the most part. We just drew insanely well in the second half of that game. And that's going to find us a victory. We are now 6-1, firmly in the money, and heading into the final battle here with 2 shots at a 7-win run today. All right, here we are on the play with turn 2 Phantom Interferences. Don't mind if I do. We certainly want to draw a lot of lands. We've got our 5-drop finisher in the hand already, and we want another red source, but being on the play and holding up Phantom Interferences on turn 2 is a pretty exciting start, and we have at least 1 mana of each color, so any land draws are good, and we can just counter everything they do for the first couple turns to get us the time we need to try to draw into some lands. There is our first land drop, very nice. Yep, let's just slow them down. Yeah, I'll play a Crom if I top deck a land, so let's counter this over skewering it, just in case we top deck land. Beautiful. Hey, Crom, come on out. We're not going to double spell anytime soon, so Crom's a little sad this game, but better than not casting something this turn. Huh. That's slightly interesting. I could This Town Ain't Big Enough plus Skewer to draw a card off Crom, but I'd have to bounce my own Crom anyway, so I wouldn't keep the counter or anything. I think I'm just going to Skewer the Grizzly. and save This Town Ain't Big Enough for when we have 5 mana. I don't think we're going to double spell a single time at this point. At this rate, we're just going to cast a 5-drop, and keep beating down in the sky. Alright, well that's a great draw. And as I said before, we're just going to keep beating down in the sky. So here's another flyer to cast. Don't mind if I do. Crime. The bristling backwoods has targeted my face. And we get hit for 4 by Grizzly. It's a lot of damage. We're down to 14, they're down to 16, but here comes the flyer. Show me the instant speed removal, or this Stoic Sphinx will never die. They didn't show me the instant speed removal. I'm very happy about that. Now I just hit for 7. And bounce 2 of their cards, hit for 7 next turn. I guess they didn't have instant speed removal for Sphinx during the end step. They probably would have killed it if they did. So let's just cast another Sphinx so we're threatening onboard lethal next turn. We can speed up the clock by a turn this way and still have hexproof on the Sphinx during their turn if they top decked something. If they did find removal, they can kill Crom and take 8, go to 1. Oh, it's cheap enough removal. They've got the mana for the ward. Kill the Sphinx instead. All right. It's pretty good. That hits us for 5, puts us to 9. They're definitely still in the race here. If they've got some combat tricks, they can try to lethal us. But we have This Town Ain't Big Enough to make sure we win the race. So, hit with everybody. If they combat trick us to the point where we'll take lethal, we bounce their card. Throw from the saddle. It's going to be 6 damage this turn. If they have, like, Skewer the Critics in hand, then it's worth doing this. I'm going to do this so I take no damage, Crom doesn't die, and I can just recast the Sphinx anyway. Ooh, Snakeskin Veil. Alright. Well, that played out poorly. And I still recast the Sphinx and kill them with it if they don't have +2/+2. Okay. Alright. We do get that really close game. Very well fought from our opponent, getting us all the way down to 2 there, even just playing a bunch of great flyers. I mean, it was a little bit of a slow start. Crom just being a 4-mana 2/3 flyer. But yeah, huge work from the double Phantom Interference early to just completely stop their early aggro. And let us jam in with flyers for a bunch of damage. Even if it was a really small Crom that never got a counter, it was still an evasive flying threat. And we go 7-1 with this very sweet deck for another trophy run in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Take a quick peek here for the biggest over and underperformers. Honestly, our deck was strong enough and had a consistent enough game plan, as we said during deck building, of just resolving gigantic flyers and controlling the game from there, that I don't think we needed the Oko Splash. I would say this is probably the biggest underperformer. It was pivotal in one of our victories when we played against that green deck that got that gigantic dinosaur thing out, and we got to turn that into a 3/3. That was really important. But for the most part, we kind of like surveilled this into the grave because we didn't have the green source yet, or it got countered or killed, or we just didn't draw it that often. It wasn't the most exciting thing in the universe, surprisingly, because it is an insanely good card. I was just more excited any game that I drew Stoic Sphinx than I was any game that I drew Oko. Like, I think Stoic Sphinx is just so nutty that we just had stronger rares, honestly, than the Oko. But yeah, really strong deck in general. Really solid work from three steps ahead. I think we only got to cast it like the one time, but that flexibility there where I didn't even counter their big vehicle, I was just like, all right, I need more blockers. So get another blocker, draw 2, discard 1. That was still really nice. The Phantom Interferences played super well, despite us being a deck that does want to cast 2 spells in 1 turn often. These were just really good defensive plays as those counter spells. Just everything in the deck was pretty dang sweet. Lockpicker combo, Duelist of the Mind comboed off as well. Slick Sequence did. Awesome stuff from everybody but Oko. I think we could have cut the Oko and just been a streamlined blue-red deck and probably done just as well. But that'll do it for today's draft. That is a full prize out trophy run at 2,200 gems and 6 packs. And that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.